welcome everybody to the podcast. And we are so pumped and stoked to have Tim Ross in the house. Pastor Tim, it is such an honor. You know, I love you to pieces. So for everybody listening, so Tim is like I can't even begin from oversight to mentor to just such a special person to me, to our literal entire movement. And I think of you, and it is you are an absolute hero to my life, to this entire generation. And so I'm so pumped to get to have this conversation with you.
Thank you, man.
And so right now on the screens, it's all the emojis, fire, everything. That's everything that's going on right now. Just to have this conversation means the world. And for everybody listening, so we normally have these conversations at your house.
Yes, that's correct.
Literally in PJs,
yes.
No shoes.
That's right.
Feet up on the table.
That's right.
And kids screaming around the house.
That's right.
And
Absolutely.
So now we get to have one of these unplugged on camera. It's basically one of these mentoring sessions for everybody that's listening. But
absolutely.
Thank you, Tim, for being with us, man.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. It really has.
I know it's always real. It's always raw. And I'd love to kind of get into it. So we're in Miami today, and we're in the middle of our Summit Latino 2022. And it's just been spectacular so far. You just got done preaching this message on ambiguity. And I'd love to even just start there. So the concept of this whole summit is we're talking about next is here.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of leaders both in the room at this conference, and then probably, listening online right now, of saying, man, we're excited about the future, not really sure what the future is.
Yeah.
We've talked about ambiguity. Can you maybe just like touch on this? I think it'd be a great place to start.
Yeah. So I think, taking the theme of the conference and then the fact that next is here, we get very excited about statements like this without understanding context, right? And indigenous to every single next step that you take, there's going to be ambiguity. There is going to be some unfamiliarity, some things that you don't know. You know what you know, but you don't know what you don't know. And that ambiguity is important because it wouldn't be faith if you knew everything. And so stepping into the unknown is always risky. It's always challenging. It's always nerve-wracking. But we don't get any stretches to who we are as people and our capacity until we're willing to risk being in unfamiliar territory.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't think there's a leader on the planet that hasn't felt ambiguous. I mean, these last 2 years,
for sure.
as we're just all trying to navigate. I think it was somebody who said recently, we're all leading, we're perfectly prepared to lead in a world that no longer exists. And so we're trying to lead. It's a new world.
Yeah.
And it's just been this massive shift in everything we're doing. And I know you're personally going through different shifts and transitions. Our movement, our organization is as well. And I love how this place, this what you call this ambiguous place. You gave this illustration. I wish we could show it like on camera right now. I know we can't show it, but you just even gave this illustration of like the mega steps and like the small steps. Sometimes it's even like the small steps when you don't know where to go, what next step to take. Sometimes it's these small steps. Yeah.
So big steps and small steps are the same, right? God doesn't measure the length of the steps. He measures the obedience of them. So whether you're taking huge strides or whether you're taking baby steps, from the balcony of heaven, God goes, they made a step.
Right.
Right. He's not looking at it from length. He's looking at it from obedience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so to step into the next is to ignore what you're feeling, right? I want to say that a different way. You have to acknowledge what you feel and then disregard it. Right. I am scared and I'm going. I'm uncertain and I'm going. I'm nervous and I'm going. This is risky.
That's so good.
And I'm going.
Yeah.
So if we can do what we call in psychology or therapy, integrate the negative reality, our bodies will feel better about what we're going through. Too many leaders suppress their actual feelings because they think that if I'm having a negative feeling, I'm not exhibiting faith.
Right.
When that's not the truth, right? You're a human being. And so it's okay for you to be scared and to obey God.
Right.
Right. It's okay for this to be super risky and you don't know how you're going to feed your family and obey God. Right. So it's not either or, it's both and. And when we integrate the negative realities, we can step into a season and go, hey, you know what? I really feel crappy about everything that's going on right now. And I trust God.
Right.
Two things can be true at the same time.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
So for Tim Ross, right now, we're just going to dive right in. I've always told you, I mean, you're like the literal, I don't know if there's a Christian Joe Rogan out there, but this might be, I love the conversation, the long podcast.
Yeah.
Everybody listening, obviously the basement is the hottest podcast on the freaking planet right now. This is just ridiculous. The real, the raw. It's beautiful. So if we can get into it, when you hear, and I think a lot of people in our movement is next generation Gen Z that are listening to this, what for Tim Ross, what are you seeing? What is next? Like what is this, maybe the reality? Maybe we can start there. Like, what would you say to the leaders that are saying, you know what, I want to do the next, what's the next for you? Like, I think we're in such a moment right now as the church, where it's just like people are doing like online stuff, people are doing this, people are navigating, meta, they're doing they're doing everything. Then there's a culture as persecution coming, but like, where do you feel we're at, and what's next for the church, for the next generation?
I think what's next is very vast, right? If next is here, then what is here is options. What is here is endless opportunity. And what is here is not the formula that has existed up until March 8th of 2020. So I'm excited for Generation Z to have the options to do and express ways that pertain to their faith in non-traditional ways, right? So everybody that has a gift to be a pastor isn't supposed to plant a church.
Right.
I want to slow down right there. Okay. Because if there's a theologian that can correct me on this,
slow down.
Yeah. If there's a theologian that wants to correct me on this, I'm more than willing to have the conversation. But there are spiritual gifts that the Holy Spirit gives. Paul writes and lists those in both Romans 12 and 1 Corinthians 12.
Okay.
But then there's gifts that Jesus gives the church. Not callings, giftings.
Wow.
And the gifts that Jesus gave to the church were apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers for the perfecting of the church. Right? Our assumption is that if you've been given that gift, that the only place it can live is in the church.
Right.
But I know pastors who are business owners and they're discipling all their employees.
Right.
I know a guy who has an apostolic gift who is the head of an independent school district as a principal. He's not supposed to have a church, but he does have an apostolic gift to send and to build so people can be built up and send. Everybody that's a prophet shouldn't have a church. Everybody that's an evangelist shouldn't do crusades, right? So we have to teach people with the giftings that they've been given, what are your options? And if the only options you have are the 4 or 5 limited roles that are in the church, then we're not actually scaling people to actually go out and upset the world. So instead of telling everybody they're called to pastor, identify they have a gift to be a pastor. And now they need to pray about where that pastoral gift needs to be exercised and where it needs to live.
That's beautiful.
Now, this is turning about 100 years of philosophy as it relates to the fivefold ministry on its head. But I'm just telling people to reconsider based on what scripture says, not some cool idea I've come up with. I'm not trying to market apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers in a new way. I'm just saying these giftings didn't always fit the synagogue.
Yeah.
And if they don't fit the synagogue, where should they be?
Right.
Yeah.
So if you have you have a feeling, a calling to do to be a pastor
Yeah.
don't necessarily just plant a church.
No, please don't. For the sake of you and others. How
I
many bad
love
churches
it.
do we have?
Right.
Right? I know some Chick-fil-A managers, they're better
Better
pastors than some
pastors.
pastors.
Wow.
Gary Vee's a better pastor than most, I don't want to say most, but than a lot of pastors.
Wow.
Gary Vee's nicer than a lot of pastors.
Wow.
And he cusses.
Right.
Right? So that pastoral gifting, that teaching gifting, that evangelistic gifting,
That's insane.
Mr. Beast is a better evangelist than most evangelists.
Right.
He definitely has more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love to have a billionaire evangelist who just went around showing good to people.
Yeah.
That's what Acts chapter number 10, verse number 38 says. And we know that Jesus Christ came full of the Holy Spirit and with power, and he went around doing good and healing all those that were oppressed by demons.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did good and he cast out demons.
Yeah.
So he wasn't just a Pentecostal preacher
Yeah.
casting out demons. He was a good dude who went around doing good deeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good. I think it was Barnes, like some stat said this is 97, 98% of this next generation, they're going to change the world. It's not going to be from a pulpit.
Yeah, great.
Right. So it's this, whatever you're going to call it, the marketplace, just the real world out there.
Absolutely.
It just seems to be, is that what it is? There's just this new wave of Christians saying, you know what, this is my new definition of what full-time ministry is.
Absolutely.
Or full-time mission.
Yeah.
And I think somebody, was it some big missions organization, they said, I think there's 500,000 missionaries in the world, but there's 250 million like marketplace lay leaders. Like, what do we want to do? Keep on sending missionaries?
That's right.
Or how can we mobilize the actual people in society? And what does the next church planting movement looks like? Is it businesses? Is it human development in different sectors, different spheres of society? But is that the next wave?
Yeah, it is. And I'm proof of concept of that, right? And I'm 47. So I can't imagine what a 27-year-old is going to do. Right. I'm 47. I started a podcast 4 months ago. There's like 120,000 people that listen to the podcast. I'm discipling more people as a podcaster than I ever would have as a preacher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let that sink in, right? I was never going to reach this many people preaching.
Right.
Now, there's some other people that reach way more people preaching.
Yeah.
But God knew for me, hey, after 26 years of preaching, I want to give you influence. Well, most people would think, well, then if you're going to give me influence, you're going to give it to me in the body of Christ as a pastor or a preacher. And the Lord's like, no. When I give you influence, I can do it from anywhere. So sit down, turn on the mic, turn on the camera, and I'll give you influence. And that's exactly what he did. So we have to give God permission to literally be Lord of our lives. If he's Lord, then he tells us what to do. The Lord is not an advisor who makes suggestions that you get to co-sign on. If he's a Lord, he tells you what to do and then you do it. So he told me to start a podcast. I would never have started a podcast.
Right.
He tells me to start a podcast. The podcast is successful because he told me to do it.
Right.
If I would have done it, it wouldn't have been successful.
Yeah.
But he told me to do it, and it is successful. And again, I get to scale discipleship in a way that I never would have preaching sermon series.
Yeah. Would you say when it comes to you, I feel like everything you're a part of, it's the real you that comes out. Like, I've never seen a fake day Tim Ross. Like, it's just, you're literally real everywhere, from on stage to living room, and we're in PJs with feet up on the table. How did you become that? If I can ask, because I think that's an expression of everything you do with the podcast and different things. There's like this original design. Were you always just real authentic? Or for those of us that were raised in ministry, sometimes it's just like, I got to be this, I got to be that. There's titles, there's egos, there's all this is happening. What would you say about how to do that?
So I'll tell you, I'll answer the question in the order that you gave it, first for me and then encouragement for everybody else. So I was sexually abused when I was 8 years old by a neighbor that lived across the street from me for a 6-month period of time. I can remember the first time I was sexually molested and then the first lie that I told to cover that up. I remember coming home and my mom asking me, how was my day? And I said, it was fine. 8 years old. So I learned to lie at 8 to cover up the trauma and not break my mom's heart. And then my dad find out and kill the guy and I go to jail and he go to jail. Right. So I learned how to be a professional liar at 8 years old. Okay. And that completely ravaged my soul and destroyed me through 11 years. So 19 years old, my mom actually catches me watching porn, okay, at like 2:00 in the morning. And because I knew pornography was the fruit of my trauma, it wasn't the root. The root was the actual abuse and the brokenness from that. And the pornography was how I medicated my pain, okay? It could have been alcohol. It could have been drugs. It could have been, anything. It happened to be pornography, okay? So my mom catches me, and I finally have the strength, a God-given strength, because I hadn't given my life to Christ yet. But I had a strength to go in my mom's room and tell her that I got sexually abused when I was 8, and this is why she just caught me looking at porn. Well, we wake up my younger brother who had been molested by the same guy, and then it turns into a family emergency. So my dad's called home from work. He works nights, and so my mom says that she was sexually abused by her babysitters when she was 6, and my dad was molested by the comic book store owner when he was 5 years old. So in one night, what should have been very, very shameful and very embarrassing turned into this beautiful night where all the lights came on. No one's living in the dark anymore. All of our truth is out there on the table, and we're all taking this collective sigh of relief. And I feel like 200 pounds have come off my chest, Bryce. I'm like, I can breathe again, right?
Wow.
And once I had that feeling, bro, that breath that I took after that secret was out, I didn't say it out loud, but in my mind I went, I will never have a secret again as long as I live. And to that end, I don't care what anybody thinks about me anymore.
Right.
Because I just said what was the most shameful, dark secret that I had.
Come on.
After getting caught doing a very embarrassing, shameful thing. I mean, my mom caught me watching porn and masturbating. It don't get more you can't get more awkward and lower than that. Okay? And after that, I thought, wow, they still love me.
Yeah.
They didn't shame me.
Yeah.
They embraced me.
Yeah.
I'm going to live like this for the rest of my life.
It's unreal.
So from that day to this day, that's where that authenticity comes from. And my encouragement to people that have grown up in church, there is a unwritten rule that you can't be vulnerable, that you can't be transparent, and that, especially if you're in leadership, you gotta present a certain way because the followers need you to show me in the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just need a Bible verse for it.
Yeah.
There isn't one. The true marker of apostolic ministry is authenticity and transparency. Jesus lived his life in community, the only man that could have lived his life outside of community. He lived it in community on purpose with people that were never going to be on his level.
Wow.
He had friendships that he confided in. They were with him on his best days, Mount of Transfiguration. They were with him on his worst day, Garden of Gethsemane. And when he comes back from the dead, he shows his scars not only visible on his wrist, but also lifts up a garment so they can see the hole that is in his side. And we're still walking around too scared to tell somebody that you're afraid you won't make budget for the next 90 days.
Right.
Because I have to be strong and I have to be a leader and I gotta show up with confidence and strength.
Right,
No, you have to show up with authenticity.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the Pauline epistles, Paul is being very, very transparent. We wouldn't know about Paul's thorn unless he told us.
Right.
Vulnerability is a gift we give people that they don't deserve. Transparency is when you let somebody look through the window of your house.
I love that.
Vulnerability is when you open the door and let them walk around your house.
Right.
Right? So when somebody gives you the gift of their vulnerability, the only thing you can do is appreciate it and say thank you for it. But too many leaders don't lead with vulnerability. I tell leaders all the time, if they were just as transparent and authentic as the Bible they preach from, we'd all do well. We'd all do well.
Right. Right.
We do real good to know that a pastor felt like giving up. That would be good to know.
Right.
Because it would let all the younger leaders know, oh, I guess there's going to be days where I feel like giving up. It'd be good to know that a pastor felt like he was tempted to be unfaithful to his or her wife. Right? That would be good to know that, oh my goodness, I'm going to be tempted and I still have to show up with character and fidelity anyway. It would be good to know that a pastor got depressed and didn't want to get up on Sunday morning and preach a sermon.
Right.
That would inform other leaders that, oh my God, I'm going to be depressed at some point and not want to preach my sermon.
Right.
But why are we so shocked when leaders fall? Because they never let us in.
Whoa.
And they never let us in because they're
Wow.
running off an old operating system
Wow.
that you can't find in Scripture.
Wow.
So,
Well, I just say I've been able to see that firsthand as you've walked with me through some of my darkest days of my life, and I've received nothing but love and faith and just this belief of everything, and that's been, I would say, absolute life changing, because I grew up in just this model of again, the titles, the egos, this kind of world. So for me to be able to say, man, my life is an open book with somebody on the planet.
Oh, we all need it.
We all need it, man. It doesn't have to be 100 people. It doesn't
No,
have to
it
be
doesn't.
2,000 people.
No.
We just need one.
You just need one.
And to have that safe space. And I think this is such a powerful message for everybody listening, because I know we could take this podcast in any direction. We're talking about next generation, next, and things that are coming. But
Yeah.
this idea of authenticity, of vulnerability, of being this original design, but being open with somebody.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Would you say this generation we're struggling secretly? Would you say what would be your take on in regards to why we're not seeing this realness?
Yeah.
That you just coughed up about 2,200 of your personal sins of your life of these last years, like just openly on this podcast.
Yeah.
Why do we struggle sometimes doing that, and how can we get over that?
Because, well, first of all, we struggle because we care too much what people think at the expense of our own freedom.
Wow.
We do. We actually think we have a reputation. We actually think that we're important to the expense of ourselves. What's important is that I'm free.
Right. Oh my God.
Right? But what's not important is what you think. That's actually not important.
Right.
What you think about me is actually not important. It's nice, but in matters of priority, me being free or what you think about me, I'm going to choose freedom every single time.
Come on.
If it means I don't have a platform to preach from, as long as I'm free and I put my head on my pillow and I go to sleep without taking pills, I'm free. Right?
That's so good.
But what do we see in culture? Let's work from the outside in. What do we see in culture? You see a lot of people spewing their pain, but they don't get better because they still don't have community. And they're trying to use social media as their community, but it doesn't get them to where they want to be. So you have a guy like Kanye who is losing everything in front of everybody, thinking he's keeping it real.
Wow.
When he should have kept all of that with a therapist.
Right.
He shouldn't have kept it real with us. He should have kept it
and
real.
all the board members of Adidas that he's posting daily.
Yeah. Right.
Picture by picture.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So instead of him having therapy and the right mix of, medication to handle his bipolarism, we actually, there's a contingency of people that actually think the way he's going about it is what it means to be real. And that's a real one right there. No, you're embarrassing yourself and your family.
Right.
Right. So somebody does need to know it, but it's important who needs to know.
Wow.
Right. So in the 26 years that I've been a believer in Jesus Christ, 24 of those years, I've had a counselor and or therapist. I was with my therapist a week and a half ago because the basement is, we had to wordsmith the word to come up with, to contextualize how I feel about all this stuff that's happened with the basement. And the word that I came up with is bewildering. I am beautifully bewildered by what the heck's going on.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm being stopped in airports and people recognize me. And nobody did that in 26 years of my preaching. And then I do a podcast and Tim Ross.
Whoa,
well, that's
man.
weird. And I'm an introvert and I don't know how to feel about all that. And then I want to run and hide. And when I want to run and hide, the first thing that comes to me is what is familiar. And what is familiar to me is the way I've always medicated. And how I've always medicated has been pornography, where I've been free from pornography for a long time. I don't want the success of this podcast to make me go back to pornography.
Wow.
Well, the only way that's not going to happen is if I open my mouth and tell somebody that can help me walk through that experience.
Wow.
But we don't tell people to do that.
Right.
So then they cheat on their wives.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't tell people to do that. So then they steal money.
Sheesh.
We don't tell anybody to do that. So then they try to control and manipulate people.
Mm.
Because whatever doesn't come up and out of your mouth through words will come up and out of your body through actions.
Mm.
Your body needs words to heal. And so if you give your body words, it'll calm down.
Yeah.
If you repress your body by not giving it the right words, it will act out. And sometimes that's like, the stuff that we find out with leaders who've fallen either immorally or illegally. But another way to fall is like your hair can start falling out and you got a stomach ulcer and your body starts tightening. Your body's trying to make you talk.
Wow.
You carry a lot of stress in your body. You don't have any words.
Right.
You get the right words, your body will go, finally, this fool is actually telling the truth. I'll relax now.
Right.
Yeah. So I am big on, as a mentor, and you know this, I feel like my greatest gift to you is to make sure you're in tune with yourself. Wow. God's given you great gifts. He's given you a lot of influence. I don't care about any of that. That's not the way I've ever come to you. That's not why I'm connected to you. Yeah. I'm not trying to leverage your platform for anything that I have to do. If Bryce Manderfield is okay, everything you do will be okay.
Wow.
But if you're not okay, everything you're doing, I can set my watch. Wow. You won't be doing long.
Wow.
So whenever I'm mentoring a leader or discipling a leader, I start from the inside out, not the outside in. Your platform does nothing for me. I've been on the biggest platforms already. Whoop-de-doo. Right? I want to make sure you're good from the inside out. And if you're good from the inside out, then everything else that you touch will be good as well.
Yeah. This is ridiculous. I'd like to. I know we got to wrap up here, but when you talk, I feel that the line kind of with everything we're talking about is kind of this concept that's coming to me is like how to really finish well, and with everything you're saying, and I know I want to finish well. I think you and Juliet are such examples to me of just such integrity, but realness, and just the way you've discipled me and mentored me in the intimacy of your home and with kids throwing Play-Doh out on the walls and everywhere, and the realness of that. It's made ministry attractive to me.
Yes.
And it's like, I could do that. Like,
yes.
I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do that, but that I can do. That looks fun, and you enjoy what you do, and it's real and it's authentic and everything. I feel
and just address the fact that this happens.
This just happened. Okay.
This is real life. You know what I'm saying?
This is awesome.
We're not like editing and sanitizing for,
that's
public consumption. This is just some people needed some cameras.
Yeah, they're just friends and family just came in. Yeah,
that's right. We're doing a conference right now.
We're doing a conference.
And some of the stuff.
Somebody needed some equipment.
It is what it is, man.
Baby.
It is what it is. But no,
that's good.
Yeah,
so finishing well.
Yeah, finishing
well.
This
is attractive. I mean, so what we're just talking about is you've made this thing to me. Wow, I want that.
Yeah.
And
which is why I let you in the house.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
You can only meet at so many restaurants. You got to give people proof of concept. They need to see what it looks like.
Come on.
To have a regular life where everything's not lights, camera, action. You don't come over to my house and we're sitting down, Instagramming the whole thing and here with Bryce and three. No, dude, we're crying and talking about life, and we got on jammies and we're ordering food from Uber and we're eating.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we're like truly hanging out, and you see my wife and you see that she's happy.
Yeah, man.
And you see how peaceful the home is, and you see my kids and you see how they respect me, and you see how peaceful they are.
Yeah.
They're 14 and 12, so they do their crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But they're normal kids.
Yeah.
They don't have that PK mentality because I refuse to give it to them.
That's so good.
They don't live their life in the dark. They live it in the light.
Yeah, man.
So we have to normalize the beauty of the mundane. That's what I refer to it as.
Oof, say that again.
Like the worst thing we could give Generation Z is lights, camera, action.
That's right.
They need to know what the beauty of the mundane is. Hey,
Yeah.
what are we doing today? Nothing.
Right.
Hey, what's today? Friday? What do you do on Fridays? It's my Sabbath day.
Yeah.
We don't do nothing.
Right.
We're going to watch a couple of movies.
Mhm.
We're going to play some board games.
Mhm.
And we're going to chill out. But what about the gospel? And, the world needs to, the world needs you to rest.
You need to chill.
You need to chill, right? There's enough of an adventure over the course of your life that Jesus has in store for you. He doesn't mind if you take a day off.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, his dad commanded it.
That's right.
So if you ain't going to kill nobody today,
Yeah.
you're not going to covet your neighbor's wife today,
Yeah.
and you're not going to disrespect your parents today, you should
Yeah.
probably also take the Sabbath off.
Yeah. Wow.
Since we're going 9 for 10 most of the time, we should probably just
Yeah.
keep all the commandments.
So I'm not gonna lie. When I saw you, when was this? Was it yesterday? It was today. You walked in, and I teared up when I saw you because we have a lot of speakers, a lot of, like everything is going on, but it's like, it's like that person that is that example, that role
Mhm.
model, that real pastor. Like I
Yeah.
feel like you take time for me, and
I do.
I got teared up because it's so powerful, and I just think, man, what would it be like with, again, with true fathers out there that have these kids that want to change the world, want to do things,
Yeah.
and just you being there, you being someone who's affirmed, who have believed. What it's done in me is, man, I don't want to be some communicator. I don't want to be some convener. Like I truly want to be a curator for this new generation of
Yeah.
leaders that arise that need somebody to just come alongside and be like, you can be real with me.
That's right.
Like these jokers out here, they don't got you, but I got you,
Yeah,
and I'll give my
absolutely.
life for you. That's what I felt, and
Yeah.
this is such a powerful example, I think, of what our generation is. We need fathers.
That's
We
right.
really do. Like we're friends, but you are a father to me.
Absolutely.
You are a mentor to us, to our movement.
Yep.
And somebody out there is listening to this, and it's just so I know it's powerful, and it's a change of leadership, and it's from the pulpit to the pews, and it's to the living rooms, and we in PJs, man, and it's your life. More things are
Yeah.
caught than taught. So I
That's
just
right.
want to say thank you for being that for
absolutely.
us.
Yeah.
And it's been life changing. And so, any last words on? I just feel the whole line here has just been even like this idea of finishing well, being vulnerable, and everything. Any last words before we close this time podcast?
My last words would be for anybody that's listening, go be great, but understand that greatness is relative. You want the greatness God has for you,
So good.
not the greatness you see in others. Greatness is relative. Somebody's great is a church of 30,000. Somebody else's great is an influence of 5.
Right.
And they all happen to be in your house. God looks down from heaven and goes, they're both great. Billy Graham, great. The guy that led Billy Graham to Christ, great.
Right. Wow.
Greatness is relative.
That's so good.
So let's not aspire to greatness based on comparison. Let it be literally on calling.
That's so good.
If you do what God tells you to do and nothing else, you're great.
I love it. Tim Ross, thank you, man.
You're welcome. I love you.